Howdy, folks. Welcome to Redneck Gone Green. I'm your host, David Cobb. I am the redneck. You bet I've gone green, and I'm trying to get you to do it too. And as a reminder, as we do every week on this show, when we say going green, we ain't talking about mere environmentalism. We going deeper, y'all. We talking about deep ecology, the interconnectedness of all of life. And whether you come at that from a deeply feminist eco-spiritual perspective, or you come at that from a hard science, more linear science perspective, or like me, you say those are both perfectly valid ways of understanding the world, I'm here to tell you we are interconnected in this web of life. And whatever we as humans do to that web, we are ultimately doing ourselves. And let's be honest, we doing it wrong. We're literally commodifying and destroying Mother Earth faster than she can replenish herself. And as if that's not bad enough, we create a racist, sexist, class oppressive world order with the plunder and pillage of Mother Earth. But don't despair, because here on Redneck Gone Green, we bring you voices of people who are actually doing something about it. They take Lenin's exhortation and the question, what is to be done, seriously. And with that, let's bring on our good pal, Shane Knight. Shane, how you doing, brother?
It's been a long week. I've been traveling. Landed in San Francisco on Thursday, so jet lag's over and the sun is out. So I'm doing pretty well.
Well, right on. Well, welcome back. I'm glad you had safe travels. And in the meantime, brah, I don't know if you've been following it, but the illegal, immoral, unconstitutional war in Iran, as we predicted on this program, is beginning to escalate to a regional one. We are now seeing the potential of ground troops. Y'all, I don't mean to be like an extremist, but Shane, it is looking like we are on the verge of World War III. And if you can help me see it different, please do.
I don't think I can. I mean, everything points to the red zone. Like everything is spiking, tensions are rising. The fact that yes, there's the potential for ground troops. Very, very highly likely that they're going to try something really stupid, and the response to that is going to be very, very bad, in my opinion. I don't see a way around it,
Well, look at
regardless of
here.
what they decide to do.
Here's what I see, Shane. And again, we have very little agency other than to try to undermine this empire best we can. Big picture wise, there is no doubt in my mind that we are seeing the last gasps of the American empire, likely the end of the petrodollar. Now, I have no love for this U.S. empire. Everybody who knows me knows I have been an anti imperialist, and I still am. What I am saying is, I know from the British in Kenya, I know from the Spanish, I know from the Soviet Union, empires in their last gasp are the most dangerous. And I
Yeah,
am really worried about the end of the US empire and what not only the US entire apparatus will do, but Donald Trump is
yeah,
crazed. He's an
yeah.
absolute maniac, right? Like, so what we are in a very dangerous moment.
Yes, we are, and specifically because of what you just said with Donald Trump. It's not just that the military-industrial complex is jonesing to get their next toy approved via concept. Uh, Everything under heaven is under chaos. Yes, that's right. But
And by the
like you
way,
said,
I just want to lift up our whoever is watching. That's a Mal quote, and I appreciate you bringing the clarity, comrade. Etudio, you're bringing it hot, and welcome to the conversation.
yes, and thank you for that. No, like I was saying, the scary part of it is I look at what Donald Trump is doing, and it seems like he's trying to cross things off of his own bucket list, and that terrifies me.
Looky here.
I can
Here's
see him sitting there jonesing to push that nuclear button.
So a couple of things real quick. One, like we are seeing the end of the American empire. We are seeing the
Mhm.
Gramscian conjuncture intensify. Like things are chaos, right? There's no doubt about it. But let's be clear about something, y'all. Venezuela was about oil. Iran is about oil and natural gas. I reckon that really what's happening, Trump understands that the only opportunity to hold on to the American hegemony that has happened for the last, ever since Bretton Woods, is to somehow gain control over the last of the dwindling fossil fuels. And so that's what we're seeing, naked imperialism. Like, this has always been an empire, but now the gloves are off. There's not even a pretext that this is about anything other than oil and natural gas.
Yeah, they're not pretending about anything. One of the things that does scare me about all of this live action happening in the Middle East is everything that's happening behind the scenes here at home. I don't know if you've seen it, but they're trying to, Trump is saying he wants to bring Congress back because of the DHS situation and the long lines at the airports. I don't buy that for one fucking minute. They're trying to get a bill pushed through that will allow them to invest people's 401k money into private assets.
Listen, and all this back and forth about Trump lying about negotiations with Iran. Make no mistake about it, y'all. That is market manipulation. That's a grift by a master grifter. Like Trump is like, this is the thing. He's stupid, but he's also crazy like a fox. Like, that man is not an ideological fascist. He is, at the end of the day, about greed, his own personal power, his own personal authority, and about making money. That's all he's about. So looky here, y'all. The only way that we are going to get through this, in my opinion, is to restructure society. The reality is the neoliberal consensus is collapsing. We're either going to have a revolution or we're going to have fascism. As Rosa Luxemburg once famously said, it's either socialism or barbarism. Cobb on Redneck Gone Green now says it's either going to be decolonized eco-socialism or dystopian fascism, but it's the same thing. And so at this point, I want to remind, and Ruthie reminds me of this all the time, one of my favorite quotes, Tony Cade Bambara famously said, and this is a quote, "The role of the artist is to make revolution irresistible." Ruthie, my partner, is an artist. So many of my good friends are artists and culture workers, and our guest today checks all of those boxes. Mike Krenshaw is a hip-hop artist. He's an organizer. He's a culture worker. He is a living example of what a revolutionary artist and organizer looks like in the flesh. He is a personal friend of mine. And before we bring him on, y'all, we're going to drop it's his one of his most recent cuts. It is filmed in both Tanzania and Portland. It's Mike Crenshaw and A Revolution and Kilo Riti, who is rapping in Swahili, English, and Maasai. Check it out, y'all. It's called Africa. Hit it, Shane.
Michael Krenshaw, rongannya sudah robot. Africa, kilo Rich, kilo Mindy. Master what we are. Africa, listen for this thing, you know.
Africa, back it up as Babylon collapses. The U.S. is a massacre. The West belongs to fascists. Like the pterodactyl flying phoenix rising from the ashes. I'm reaching out, not preaching, but I'm speaking what I practice. Mastery, capacity to grapple with catastrophe, ability to really see, illuminate the path that we need to take, the ones that we need to break free from. We must change, elucidate, communicate the reason. Travel the path, decipher the math, happy to have resources. Society is toxic, a concoction that's distorted. See it, touch it, taste it, hear it, feel it, it's important. Know there's something greater which you can't afford us to ignore it. Art and science, defiance, philosophy and culture, heart alliance, self-reliance, dedication and devotion. The environment, the leopards, lions, trees in the ocean. Divine guidance, that's the fire and inspires this explosion.
The rich plead the fifth and throw my fist up. Holla at my lawyer if there's anything to discuss. We're disgusted with the system, things broken inside the pistons. They poison our food and air and still expect us all to listen. We ain't for it. Same people that burn down all our forests, houses and land. It's obvious we're not in the plans. I don't understand. How can you cleanse a land that isn't yours? Selective genocide is something we cannot ignore. I think we need to reclaim our peace of mind while recovering stolen time. Now I'm inclined to make all offenders repent. the crimes. We stay focused on our growth while transcending all divides. I told you there's no discussion when we're talking about our lives.
Open the door, shit, they wanna. Together as one forever. Together as one. Together as one. Africa. American, Asian, Europe. We come together. Africa. Peace and love, unity for one another. Habari gani hakuna matata isi. Upendo na amani tumeris kwa wazee. Chuki na usisitutenge. Tushikane wote. Open the door, shiny wanna. Together as one forever. Together as one. Together as one. Africa. American, Asian, Europe. We come together. Africa. Peace and love, unity for one another. Africa. Africa.
Talented, intelligent, qualified, and relevant. Willing to send these senseless killers back to the elements. Prioritize protection, regardless of profession. Effective under pressure, we anticipate aggression. We connect it through complexion, but it's deeper than the melanin. Through discussion, food production, land use, and development. The battle that we fight, the shadow and the light, incalculable. We can't be bought a soul, there is no price.
Mike Crenshaw, welcome to Redneck Gone Green.
It's good to be here.
Looky here, Mike. This 63-year-old redneck from Texas, and you and Shimako Noble taught me to say this. Are you ready for it?
Let's go.
That shit was dope.
I appreciate it. We aim just like thanks. First of all, thank you for having me, Shane and David. And you know, we, like Killer Reedy said, Africa, Asia, Europe, you know, we aim to do things that most people can appreciate, if at all possible, you know, regardless.
Right on. And like I picked up a lot of them, but for this redneck cracker, deeper than the melanin is also in my head, right? Like
It's deeper than the melanin, man. You know, we have one Earth. And with the ecological crisis that everybody feels, you know, there's no reason for these guys to be blowing up oil refineries. You know,
no,
the insanity
there
of
is
it.
a reason, and their reason
Right.
is to extract to pillage, right? But it don't make no damn sense.
Not for the rest of us.
Not for the rest.
Not for the rest of humanity and the other species that we share this planet with.
And Mike, one thing that I want to like really underscore, and that is the international aspect that you bring to this, and the constant refrain in all of your work, and that is, we ain't supposed to be living like this. That this world that we inhabit now, the systems and the structures are not natural to us. They have been imposed on us.
That's right. That's right.
So look here, before we go any further, I feel obliged, because you my friend and my comrade, where can people get that track? Tell me, where is that? tell me how folks can get connected to your work.
So right now, the album will be out. There's 17 songs on this album. So this was one of the recent singles off of this album. April 3rd, this Friday, it'll be available on most platforms, Apple Music and so on down the line. But that single's already available. Okay. So we released Africa earlier in March, and the video's been out since February. And you can go cop that right now. Please go to YouTube and search for Mike Crenshaw Africa, AFRIKA, and look at that video and subscribe to me on YouTube. Please watch it again, share it with your friends. Thank you
please
for posting
do. And
the
let me
link.
tell you something, y'all. Like obviously that music was amazing. It's amazing art. And Mike Crenshaw is truly an organizer and a strategist and a theorist of the highest order. Mike, one thing I do want to do is back up a moment, because I know you and I've been knowing you for, well, we're getting old now, right? We've been knowing each other for a while, right?
Right, look at that.
Look at my head now. I had hair when you met me. But the thing I want to do is like I don't want you to get bashful on me, because
Mhm.
I know of you through your work with the Minneapolis Baldies. And
Mhm.
I want you to let us take you back to your days as a kid in Minneapolis. And I want you to tell the story. There's a phenomenal documentary on the Baldies. But like for folk who may not know what the Baldies are and why I'm literally getting goosebumps as somebody who was part of the Anti-Racist Action Network, tell us who the Baldies are and take as much time as you need to tell this story, brother.
Thank you, David. Yeah, the Minneapolis Baldies are my best friends. They still are to this day. A group of teenagers, we found ourselves being misfits, kids who didn't fit in the mainstream social cliques, right? And so we all found ourselves in the punk scene. Now, me myself, being from the South Side of Chicago, I was a kid that was born into all Black communities, but for reasons having to do with the economic situation, my mom was struggling as a single parent. I moved all around. Before I was they said before I was 2, I moved like 8 times, right? So by the time I was a teenager and my family moved up to Minnesota from Illinois, I had become enraged, saddened, and disgusted by how difficult it was to fit in. Getting picked on, getting made fun of. Inadvertently, I learned how to code switch because I went from being in all Black environments to being in all white environments. And things that were painful for me eventually would become things that served me. So when I meet these kids in the punk scene, a handful of us decided that we were going to adopt the skinhead fashion and listen to the prescribed music of the skinhead subculture. Now, we understood that skinheads came from England. They looked cool, they were tough, and they listened to punk and they listened to reggae. And so a certain genre of reggae called ska. And so we started doing that in the 80s. I'm talking about 1986. I was 16. I was in high school. And right around the time we found each other and fell in love with uh, the identity and the shared interests in the music and the fashion in the punk scene, neo-Nazi skinheads started to show up. And the reason they started to show up, one of the reasons was because people on these daytime talk shows like Donahue, Maury Povich, Sally Jesse Raphael, Oprah, they were platforming these guys. And that created an explosion across the United States where a bunch of white kids who were also looking to belong to something, who also wanted to be cool, they identified with that. And so they started showing up in our scene. And there was an older guy, a couple years older than us, probably in his early 20s, by the name of Paul Hollis. And he was in the Ku Klux Klan. And he organized some of these white boys into a crew called the White Knights. So before long, we got wind that they were around, and we found them and we confronted them. And we said, hey, are you guys white power? And a couple of them said, yeah. And a couple of them were shy about it. We said, look, next time we see you, if you're still claiming white power, there's going to be a problem. And that was the beginning. Now, I didn't know I was becoming politicized, but what I knew is that for me to find a home, after so much discomfort and challenges socially, for me to find a place where I knew I belonged and where I knew my friends accepted me for who I was, there was no way I was going to lose ground to some people who were claiming to be racist, who were also my my peers. They didn't have power over me. They didn't have any authority over me. So we're on a level playing field here, and we're in a scene that's supposed to accept the outsiders. And you want to come with that mainstream racist bullshit? I'll fuck you up. And it wasn't just me. My friends were with me. And so that was the beginning of the Minneapolis Baldies putting our foot down and saying we're not going to stand for this shit in our scenes. Eventually we had to build alliances with others who wanted to stand with us for safety, for survival. And the fact of the matter is, a lot of people agreed with us. And they said, we don't want this. And that was the beginning of anti-racist action. It started with other anti-racist skinhead crews across the Midwest, in Chicago, Milwaukee, Indianapolis, to name a few cities. But ultimately, it spread from the anti-racist skinhead cliques and crews to other people who weren't necessarily skinheads in uniform or even music choice, but who were anti-fascist and anti-racist.
So, Mike, I fucking love this story so much because we've chopped it up about this. Like, I didn't know you, right? But like my trajectory is not dissimilar from yours completely. Like, so first of all, let's just be clear: the Baldies were multiracial, right?
That's right.
The Baldies also, they fucking stomp skulls, right? They like, and I'm not romanticizing it. What I'm saying is, y'all learned something that I also learned in my late 20s as a concert promoter of not just like alternative rock, but especially in the punk scene, right? Like what I know, what you know, and some people have either never knew or forgotten, and that is to be a skinhead was contested, right? Like it was literally, are you an explicit anti-racist? Are you carving out the spot of the outsider? And or are you white supremacist, fascist, Nazi, right? Like literally that was the contested terrain. Here's the other thing that I learned, Mike, as a up and coming young music promoter in Houston, Texas, when we were putting together a lot of punk shows. See, when actual fascists show up, like those skinheads were, you don't fucking negotiate with them. You don't have discourse with them. Only one of two things happen when an actual fascist comes into a scene like that. Either they drive you out or you drive them out. There is no in between. And one of the things that I find so disheartening is this kind of getting caught up in a free speech nonsense where you're literally empowering murderers to actually have the quote free speech to incite murder and violence. And as a lawyer, I'm here to tell you, you're doing it wrong. There is no First Amendment right to incite violence and murder. Period. Full stop. I apologize.
You know what?
Pisses me off.
You don't have to apologize. There are some apologies that would be appropriate, but we're not the ones who owe apologies. What do I say in one of my songs? Come around here acting like a colonizer, whatever happens next, I'm not apologizing. It's like we come from colonized people. Even if your skin doesn't have melanin in it, if your background is as a working class person, even though you might have benefited from the system of white supremacy, you're not part of the ruling class. You're not part of the 1% that's benefiting from the military industrial complex, from waging war on the environment, from stealing people's wages, from creating inflation out of thin air, where the biggest transfer of wealth in human history happened during COVID. You think that's going to slow down? You know what I'm saying? And so what we need to understand is that fight that we were fighting in the punk scene, where we knew that these guys, they're ideologically oriented to this line of thinking that says, I don't have a right to exist.
Right.
And because I don't have a right to exist, because I'm not even human, then they have a right to commit acts of violence. They have a right to get away with murder when it comes to my very life. So we understood that that's what we were working against. So we're already at a disadvantage. We got these kids in a subculture showing up wanting to act out this behavior, but we also have a police department. Okay.
Mhm.
We also have a city government. We also have a state government and a federal government that for centuries is going to look the other way when we get lynched, when we get murdered in the street. You see, so there's no room left to negotiate with y'all. And now what we're seeing is what these boys were saying back then. These young men and their leaders were telling the public back then when they would get on these talk shows. They say, we're going to tone down our uniforms and we're going to get mainstream.
And they did.
Yeah.
And they did.
They
and
found a home in the Republican Party.
That's right. And what we're able to see is history repeats. This strain of thinking has been utilized from the very beginning. When settlers came here and committed acts of genocide against Native Americans, and the poorer of those settlers were convinced that if they were poor and they were white, as long as they rode for the elite power structure, that they were going to be better off than the niggers and the Indians, right? And that same line of thinking is used to divide people to this day. So you got these guys at the top of the power structure getting away with wholesale murder, genocide, moving industries across international borders to be deregulated, investing in technological development of the means of production, screwing over everybody in the working class, but then still feeding them this line about if you're white, you're going to be all right. And so this is nothing new. We're fighting the same. And while we've been over here fighting each other over this line that they fed us, they've stripped the earth of resources and polluted the environment to the degree where we don't even know how much longer the human race it's going to be around.
It's insanity, Mike. And like you reminded me during Anti-Racist Action Network, again, like we didn't even know each other back then, right? And like I'm not going to claim any of the legacy of the Baldies. I'm saying even though I'm a little bit older than you, benefited from your work, because by the time it got down to Texas and I was having this experience, like, you know, honestly, I was a good progressive. I was a social democrat at best. I was not a self-identified revolutionary, right? I thought we can make this system work, blah, blah, blah. I got some rude awakenings, right? Working in the anti-apartheid effort at the University of Houston as a kid. And then from there, I got into the music scene. You know, I worked on Jesse Jackson's campaign. I'm giving some context here, y'all. What I'm saying is, by the time I bumped into Anti-Racist Action Network, that was part of the process of the deepening of my realization, the deepening of understanding that this system is not broken, it's fixed. It's literally hardwired. White supremacy and capitalism is literally operating the way these fuckers want it to. And the idea that we're going to somehow vote our way out of it, or that we're going to somehow like appeal using reason, that shit don't work, y'all.
No, we need to turn some of that reason inward. We need to use reason. We need to appeal to each other, right? And take some of the resources, the psychological, emotional, spiritual, and material resources that we use to survive this system that is fixed to work against us, to start to create formations, community, allegiances, organizations, whatever you want to call it, where we're going to be as best as we can be while this shit crumbles around us. And, you know, the scary part, I'm not going to lie, it is frightening, because they're going to be using the technology that they use in the theater of war. We see it already to come after us. Any moral conflict that a human being is going to have with just following orders and killing another human being is summarily going to be replaced by a robot. And if you have trouble getting somebody in the call center to help you sort out your tech issues, imagine how much trouble you're going to have when the call center is a robot, the robotic dog that bit your boy's arm off is a robot.
I mean,
You
yeah,
know,
just go down the
the
list.
drone overhead, and everything is a goddamn app. There's these metaphors they use, right? We saw it in that movie Sinners about how you gotta give the vampire permission to enter. Well, every time we just want to get through the bullshit so we can use the app for free, we consent. Right?
Right.
Who reads the small print? We don't have time to read the small print. You're a lawyer, but I mean,
I do.
legalese. Well, good, because we get. What do I got to do? I got to get an app to read the small print for me and break
Yeah,
it
just
down.
summary. I'm
right?
gonna have the
That's what people,
AI
people use
summarize
Chat
this for me.
GPT for that because they don't
Yeah.
want to read that. We want to summarize it, right? And so let me just say one more thing about this metaphor about vampires, right? And the other one is vampires can't see themselves in the mirror. And so sometimes we have to weigh the psychology of these maniacs and the system that we're dealing with, because in order to appeal to somebody's reason, they have to have a conscience in the first place, right? So how you gonna hold someone accountable when they either refuse or are unable to be accountable for their behavior?
They're
Right?
morally
So-
empty. Yeah.
So that's where I'm like, oh, they're vampires. These guys are vampires. And then of course, all this stuff coming out like, oh yeah, they really do drink blood. Used to be a conspiracy theory. Now it's a fact.
No.
One thing that the Epstein files are teaching us is the great words of the great political theorist and philosopher Lily Tomlin, who said,
Yeah.
no matter how cynical I get, it's hard to keep up with these bastards.
For real.
You can't even
Look here,
imagine,
y'all,
right? We don't have
you
the
are
brain power
listening-
for that.
You are listening and are watching Redneck Gone Green. I'm your host, David Cobb, joined by Shane Knight, our co-host, and over at Democracy at Work, where we have this platform. Our guest is Mike Krenshaw, an artist, a cultural worker, an organizer, and a brilliant theorist, strategist, and somebody who gets shit done. So, Mike, I do want to take a moment because let's be clear: MAGA and Trump did not come out of nowhere. And it wasn't just the confused white boys from back in the 80s. The soil that grew that was the neoliberal Democrats who cultivated it. When Bill Clinton pushed NAFTA, he hollowed out the entire working class across the Midwest, including Minneapolis. When the Democratic Party leadership abandoned labor and embraced free trade, they created the economic despair that Trump would later weaponize. Deeper still, this country from inception was built on empire, on white supremacy, and the beginning of what we now understand as capitalism, which has morphed into industrialism, which morphed into financialization. See, the thing is, neoliberalism is literally just the next stage. Fascism is next. Now, none of this is to excuse the explicit racism or fascism or reactionary politics of MAGA. It is to put it into a context. You cannot beat right-wing populism with neoliberalism. You can only beat it by delivering for ordinary working class people. And I mean black, white, brown, all of us have to build something together that's going to work for us. And one of the things that I've appreciated about your work, Mike, from the moment I met you, was that you did not shy away from addressing white supremacy with clarity and conviction, even as you talked about the need to build a unity across the working class. Frankly, I don't hear enough of that in the hip hop world.
Well, because the commercial hip hop world is the hip hop world that's most easily accessible, because it's been commodified and controlled in such a way that it's right there for you to hear. You damn near beat over the head with it, And because of that, we don't get to hear a lot of hip hop that has a message that's going to push back against the status quo, and it's going to identify the root causes of these systems of oppression that, even though it doesn't appear to be it, when we look at the commercial algorithm, a lot of us actually have some clarity about, because we've been surviving it generationally and we've been passing down these understandings of what we're really up against. We're facing the same thing that our ancestors faced, but the means of production have changed. So just as the neoliberal capitalist shift in the means of production is influenced by technology, it's driven by profit motive. So why, and this is something I was inspired to write this line by Rest in Power by Waistline. Okay. This brother out of Detroit that came up, revolutionary black auto workers and so on and so forth. And he watched his job be taken by the robot. He watched his community be disenfranchised and undermined by the technological change in the means of production. And the line is, why would I pay a human being a fee to do for me what I can get a machine to do for free? So we all see it in the grocery store, in the checkout line, and everywhere you look where there used to be a person employed, there's no longer a person. Let's take it all the way back to the myth of John Henry and what that metaphor represents about the end of the human slave trade that had the cotton, right, and the things produced on the plantation in the South replaced by a machine that was more efficient. Okay, so this happens, and in this country, it is tied inextricably to white supremacy. It is tied inextricably to patriarchy, right? But none of that exists without capitalism. The devaluation of human life in the name of profit that drives the technology to the point where the worker is no longer employable. We're here. We are on that threshold and maybe even a few steps past it, right? So what do you do with millions, hundreds of millions of people who are no longer employable? Well, you might start with making sure they're sick as fuck, ensuring you have places to warehouse them in the form of different concentration camps, detention camps, and you might try to start as many wards as you can just to speed up the process of getting them out the way. You might introduce, I thought OxyContin, we thought heroin was bad. Then came the Oxy, right? Then came the fentanyl. Now we got xylazine and so on and so forth. So we see, everybody can look out the window or walk about a block and see some of these zombies walking around. So whether it's a conspiracy that's been done intentionally or not, the impact is the fucking same.
And I want to take this moment to back up, because you break, like, as always, and I said it in the Substack, you break it down without dumbing it down. Real talk. And I am reminded C.L.R. James, who the Black Jacobins, very famous. He was from Trinidad. He famously articulated the inseparable nature of race and class in his seminal work. And I love this line. Listen to this, Mike. He says, quote, "The race question is subsidiary to the class question in politics, and to think of imperialism in terms of mere race is disastrous. But to neglect the racial factor as merely incidental is an error only less grave than to make it fundamental." In other words, like what you do, what Jerome Scott does, what I try to do is to be clear and unequivocal that white supremacy and capitalism, and I'm going to add heteropatriarchy and colonialism, at the end of the day, they are inextricably linked. They are at their core extraction and oppression. They are ultimately going to destroy this planet. And Mike, I don't see any way possible at this point but to unite and fight these bastards. We are in the existential moment. Like, again, when people used to talk like I'm talking now, I would be the one to say, calm down. This is a marathon, not a sprint, et cetera, et cetera. But Mike, I'm looking at it. I see nothing but end game now. Like, this is it. Like, and again, if you think I've got it wrong, walk me off this clip, brother, because I love you and respect you. And if you feel I've got it wrong, I want you to help me.
I'm right here with you, David, and I'm trying to figure out how to not be psychologically, emotionally, spiritually destroyed. Because I need motivation, I need inspiration, I need clarity. I need community. I need to be able to reach into myself and find something I love about being alive that's not attached to the material conditions that are changing in ways that I actually cannot control. If this was about making a moral appeal or convincing the right people in the factory that we could open up the factory again, then we might have some leg to stand on that's part of the system that's actually going to disappear because it's going to transform into something else. What we need to be thinking about is, what is it that we can do to deal with what's happening? How do we create ways of being relatively autonomous, not by burying our heads in the sand, but where we're not relying and dependent on the system, and to where we have a way of interacting with the environment and producing food, creating shelter in community because it's too much to do alone, and actually defending the means of production that we have to sustain ourselves, so that when they come with their drones and their robot dogs and their fascist people who, whatever their excuse is, they got that uniform on, they got that gun, they're going to encounter some people who are out organizing them. They're going to encounter some people who are prepared. And in terms of cost benefit analysis for their side, they might have to keep it pushing. I think that's what it's coming down to, David. I don't have a better answer than that.
Well, looky here, Mike. You mentioned the word, the need to keep our humanity and to get some inspiration. Shane, are we ready? Because one place that I'm getting some inspiration, and I'm not trying to blow sunshine up your ass, Mike Crenshaw, is from your art. And with that, another of your, I think it's your most recent one, is Ice Twice Baby. Is that right? You want to set this up before we play it?
That's right.
Hit it.
Sure. Yeah. So we know what's happening right now. They're doing that xenophobic thing where they blame immigrants. This same thing that was happening in 1930s Germany, right? Same thing we've seen happen in this country in the Reagan years, right? They're rapists. They're not very good people. So they mobilize, they create an economic crisis, or they take advantage of the economic crisis that already exists, and they mobilize masses of desperate people who want to do anything to survive. And they say, we're going to give you guys a good salary to go out here and basically be Gestapo. And so they start with people who have different sounding last names or brown skin, or maybe even migrated here from another country. They throw the Constitution completely out the window. So anybody that's going to be counting on their constitutional rights might have a rude awakening, because first they came for who? The people who you didn't think were you, the people who didn't look like you, the people who didn't talk like you, and next they're coming for you. And so I'm in my head very often trying to think, what am I going to do when they show up on my doorstep? Not even for having a Spanish sounding last name or for migrating here from another country, but for the way I think and what I talk about. And so ultimately, that's what this song is about. Ice, ice, baby, melt it, crush it. It's getting hot outside. Get a mop and a bucket. People working hard, regardless, struggling. Leave them alone. We want freedom and justice.
Man, Shane, can we? Are you set up to play this? Because I'd love our audience to get a taste for this. Hit it.
Well, hang on. Where'd it go? There we go.
¿Y tú?
Those ICE agents just dragged that autistic woman to the ground.
That's when one of the ICE agents shot and killed Good through the windshield.
Fired their weapons 5 seconds after an agent had yelled Alex Preddy had a gun.
ice, baby, melted, crush it. It's hot outside. Get a mop in a bucket. People working hard, regardless, struggling. Leave them alone. We want freedom and justice. Ice, baby, melted, crush it. It's hot outside. Get a mop in a bucket. People working hard, regardless, struggling. Leave them alone. We want freedom and justice. 5-alarm, firebomb, firestorm, firearms. Don't mean a thing to the rising sun. I might be wrong, but life goes on. Some of the forces coming to orbit. Kerosene flares, Zippos, torches, barbecue grills, backyards, and porches. Some of us are warriors and others are lawyers. All of us engaged. We can't avoid it. New York, California, Florida, Oregon, Maine, and Washington. Stay off of us like ice crush. Drinks are officers. React to be trapped. Don't be preposterous. A lot of us gonna be anonymous. Protect you for minimum. Make moves offending them. From a noose to spinning them. Swinging like pendulums. I'm on the nose, not too subliminal. No corny flows. I'm true original. Obvious influence. Public enemy. PRT taught me how to use my intellect. Writing on the wall. You ain't changed your mind yet. Western propaganda done frame your mindset. Color that's deep because the state's divided. A dangerous time when we ain't united. Ice outside the place I reside at. No space is safe when the state is violent. Mom in the tree with a baby hiding. Israel gets paid for training they provided. If your heart is hateful, then they may just hire you to be a henchman for a racist tyrant. Ice, baby, melted, crush it. It's hot outside. Get a mop in a bucket. People working hard, regardless, struggling. Leave them alone. We want freedom and justice. Ice, baby, melted, crush it. It's hot outside. Get a mop in a bucket. People working hard, regardless, struggling. Leave them alone. We want freedom and justice.
Aye, so what you know about oppression? About oppression. Type shit got me stressing. It got me stressing. Feel it in my spirit, got a message. Got a message. Through education, got correction. I've been trying to change my ways. Weed and liquor got me faced. Wanna do it for the culture. Black and brown is here to stay. I've been trading on this water. I don't know if I'm okay. Trying to stack a couple chips before the 5-0 on my case. Aye, so what you know about oppression? About oppression. Type shit got me stressing. Got me stressing. I feel it in my spirit, got a message. Got a message. Through education, got correction.
Ice, baby, melted, crush it. It's hot outside. Get a mop in a bucket. People working hard, regardless, struggling. Leave them alone. We want freedom and justice. Ice, baby, melted, crush it. It's hot outside. Get a mop in a bucket. People working hard, regardless, struggling. Leave them alone. We want freedom and justice. Anti-racist since adolescence. We defended the friends of the sales of weapons. Anti-establishment because they're anti-African. Anti-capitalist can't buy happiness. Anti-fascist due to anti-blackness. Fuck the administration and the cabinet. Fools can't aim. We'll take a stab at it. Hit them in the abdomen, slash his cat. Don't let fear press you. Peer pressure. Don't succumb to stress. Trying to be impressed. Better know what's best. Go get some rest. Oppression is present no matter who's elected. These uniformed terrorists won't protect us. Bless the ancestors. Death to oppress. There's more to humanity, whatever the West is. We chant down Babylon, making it festive.
Aye, so what you know about oppression? About oppression. Type shit got me stressing. Got me stressing. I feel it in my spirit, got a message. Got a message. Through education, got correction.
Ice, baby, melted, crush it. It's hot outside. Get a mop in a bucket. People working hard, regardless, struggling. Leave them alone. We want freedom and justice. Ice, baby, melted, crush it. It's hot outside. Get a mop in a bucket. People working hard, regardless, struggling. Leave them alone. We want freedom and justice.
Mike Crenshaw, damn man, he's doing it hard. Man, I love you so much, and I am so appreciative of this. And like, we're running out of time, so I feel obliged. I feel obliged to channel the fact that, like, you and me, we met at the U.S. Social Forum. Like, am I remembering?
That's correct.
We first met.
Yeah, where was the social forum in Arizona? There's another one. We met at the Detroit one or the Arizona one? I know we were both.
Detroit. Yeah, we met in Detroit. We were both in Atlanta. I was on the National Planning Committee,
right.
But we met. We were both there, but we didn't bump into each other. Just like, you know, you and like, again, I ain't blowing sunshine up your ass. You were literally one of the provocations for Anti-Racist Action Network, which I was part of in Texas, and we hadn't bumped into each other. We didn't bump into each other at the U.S. Social Forum in Atlanta. That's because there were about 30,000 of us like there in Atlanta. But in Detroit, let's lift up Shamako Noble.
That's right.
Who helped
Big
to found the Hip Hop Congress, right?
That's right.
Shamako, but Shamako brought you and me together. And Mike, the thing that I really like, I'm giving this backstory to say, like, I remember sitting there with you, and I think Davey D was at the table, and Jared Ball was there, like, and I was like, because I like to say I'm a good judge of talent, and you kept like dropping like what I just call like nuggets, and what I didn't realize it's because you and I had both been inspired by folks from the league, right? And
that's right. That's right.
The clarity of your understanding of the moment, right? So I said to Shamako, like, who is this cat, man? And he explained and how he knew you at da da da. And then you, me, and Shamako and a couple of others did these things called "What the Bleep Happened to Hip Hop," right?
That's right. Yep.
And I like, here's the answer, y'all, in case you're curious. Like, because of the work, and what was really interesting is we do full weekends together, Mike. Remember, we do, like, during the day, all day Saturday, we do deep conversations, political education to understand, like, what is hip hop, where did it come from, and then you and other artists would do an open to the public concert, right? It was really, in my opinion, some of the best fusion of deep political education and art for the Theta Arc that I've ever been part of.
You know what? It was a synthesis. First of all, I want to say, yeah, we've been neck and neck, but we weren't always together. But the thing that brought us neck and neck was the objective condition, real talk.
Say that again.
And the thing that brought us neck and neck was the objective condition. And the objective conditions are going to continue to bring people together. Whether I'm behind it or you're behind it or not, people are going to be brought to a point of consciousness where clarity is of the utmost importance. And the clarity is going to inform the action. And the clarity and the action together is what makes us effective. This combination of symposium, educational symposium, critical thought, critical analysis in community with others during the day, and then culture workers getting together and dancing and having fun and live performance and music and food and community at night. That model was a model that I encountered on the continent of Africa with the African Hip Hop Caravan. And I got to see, oh man, there are people just like me doing the same thing in all these different countries across the continent of Africa. And you better believe that that model should be replicated because it's an effective model. And it needs to be replicated nationally, internationally. I know it is right now as we speak. We just don't know everybody that's doing it.
Right.
But
we
I'm
don't
hoping
know each other yet, right? Because again, we got about 10 minutes left, Mike. So I'm going to actually, in case folks are curious, what the bleep happened to hip hop, thanks to Shamako and Mike and a whole host of other folks in these symposiums, here's the answer. The corporate commodification of what began as a liberatory art form is what happened to hip hop. In fact, this white cracker, I came up with a joke all on my own. Are you ready, Mike?
Yeah.
What did they used to call conscious hip hop?
What?
Hip hop.
Right. They separated it from itself, reverse engineered it, commodified it, right? Took the culture out of it, and now we got people rapping about taking fentanyl.
To add to it, injected misogyny and violence
and hyper materialism, all forms of toxic masculinity, right? I used to go to I wanted to buy women hip hop artists because I wanted to hear diversity in my playlist, right? And so then they got it to the point where the only women hip hop artists that are easy to find are the ones who are participating, in the hyper exploitation of their own bodies and spreading the consciousness and making it look like that's what it is to do. And the men ain't getting off no better because we're over here talking about we got to sell dope and take dope just to get by. And you better be good enough to go to prison for you to have some credibility. We didn't come up with this shit, y'all. But because we're the people who are out here as the spokespeople for it, our youth grow up thinking that it's our idea. And just like those boys in the ICE uniform are just trying to get a buck, unfortunately, some of these artists are just trying to get a buck. And they'll do whatever it takes, right? Get rich or die trying. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. Well, what happens when the dollar is so devoid of value that these things we've heard about happening in the global South, the so-called third world countries, that fought for their liberation and were published with sanctions, what's happening in Cuba, what's already happened in Zimbabwe. Come on now. What's going to happen when you have a wheelbarrow full of money and you can't even buy a piece of bread with it?
And look at here, man. I'm going to take this opportunity too because, and thank you for laughing at my joke because it's kind of clever, right? Because and look at here. You and others turned me on to the coup and because I was one of those, I was ignorant. I didn't know what I didn't know. but I was also miseducated. Like when I first thought about hip hop, I would think, well, that's just some misogynistic and hyper material, like, and like man, like for somebody who's so conscious, you like I had to admit I didn't know what I didn't know. And here's the other thing. If we had stayed together on that trek, right? We still together, right? But if we had stayed together, I was telling Shamako I wanted to do an educational series called What the Bleep Happened to Country Music.
That's right. That's right. Folk
Country music began as a libertary art form for crackers who had the boss man's boot on his neck, right? Like I think it's really important that we really struggle to see with clarity what you have just been describing. Again, there's an intersection. The predatory class use the ability to separate us on race and gender and religion. They find ways because they know if we ever unite that we will kick their ass.
Right. And they want to refine something into something that has no nutrients. I got to thinking about this parallel with, and this is a different show with maize and corn and factory farming and how diverse the species of plants with different kinds of kernels of corn used to be that came from these ancient indigenous American cultures, right? But now we got this stuff that's GMO and mass produced to the point where it'll infect and overtake any organic corn that's growing around it. You have the replacing of these small family-owned farm operations all over the global South, coming into this country throughout the Midwest, right? And down south, replaced by these factory farms. And it's damn near hard to find heirloom seeds in certain places because they're trying to patent the ancient, organic, original. You know, they want to control the food we eat, and they do. And with this thing with the Strait of Hormuz, y'all, you know, we're going to be coming into some interesting opportunities to create community right around this fall.
Look here, man. Like
I couldn't agree with you more. I was going to say, like, one of the conversations I've had over the last several days with folks around here has been, you know, it's interesting to see how much is actually falling apart. And you kind of want to say thank you, right, for letting it fall apart or making it fall apart, because now we're going to have something raw to build something new on.
We're going to, yeah, they said necessity is a mother of invention. Whoever said that, we're going to have to figure out some ways to get through things, but it's going to force us to be creative in ways we, quite frankly, haven't had to for a long time. Maybe the most marginalized amongst us have, but maybe we get those of us who've been a little bit above that, we get to bring some resources to the game that are going to be even more useful, you know?
Well, looky here, man. We're coming to the end of the show, Mike. So if there's and hey, we love dogs on Redneck Gone Green. So
he was patient, but he had to get up here. So yeah. Shout out to Bubba.
Hey, Bubba. Looky here, Mike. Any final words or thoughts from you, including where can we find more of your music?
Follow Mike Crenshaw on Instagram, MIC, not MIKE, MIC, CRENSHAW. The fan page is Mike Krenshaw on Facebook, spelled the same way. MikeCrenshaw.com. And the music is streaming all over the place, but please subscribe to me on YouTube. I need to get my subscriptions up so that people can more easily access my music. Ice Twice, Baby, Africa, and a lot of other music videos are up there on my YouTube channel. Thank you for the time, David and Shane. Thank you, Ruthie, holding it down on the tech end. Thank you, Redneck Gone Green.
All right, Mike Crenshaw, thank you so much, brother. You know I love you. We appreciate you. We're going to have you back. I guarantee you that. Folks, a reminder here on Redneck Gone Green, we're getting larger, stronger, and better organized. What that means is please go to the Substack that I write, conveniently Redneck Gone Green. We're over 4,000 subscribers already. That's just on the writing. And remember, I've now made a commitment, Shane. I'm going to say it out loud. I am now writing a deep dive piece on our guests that we do. And every Saturday, I am now writing a piece that is either deeper analysis or a current event. So I'll be writing twice a week on the Substack at Redneck Gone Green. And remember, We are part of the Democracy at Work platform, the media empire that is the people's empire, right? It's anchored by Professor Rick Wolf and Dr. Harriet Fraud, but we have the honor of being on that platform. So go to Democracy at Work, subscribe there. Go to Mike Krenshaw, subscribe there. And I want to end by thanking Mike Krenshaw. I want to thank Shane Knight. I want to thank Ruthie Engelkey, but most importantly, I want to thank you. And by you, I mean the person listening to my voice, the person looking at me right now, the person who occupies the seat upon which your ass is currently at. I thank you for being part of this. We can do it, and we're going to do it together.